I was lying on a hospital bed, struggling to breathe through the pain of labor, when the doctor looked at me and said, "If we don't perform a cesarean section immediately, we may lose both you and the child." I thought my husband would hold my hand and support me, but instead, he declined and threatened to divorce me if I accept to do that. Hi, my name is Stephanie, and this is the most painful experience of my life. When I got married, I believe I have found a man who would stand by me through good times and bad times. My husband was loving in the beginning. We had our misunderstanding like every couple, but I believed we would overcome them together. A year after our marriage, I became pregnant with our first child. We were both excited. I attended my antenatal appointment faithfully. I followed the doctor's advice and did everything I could to have a healthy pregnancy. As my date due, I started preparing for the baby's arrival. I bought clothes, blankets, and small baby items. I imagined holding my child for the first time. Everything seemed normal. Then one day of labor arrived. The pain started in the early hours of the morning. My husband rushed me to the hospital. At first, I thought everything was progressing normally. The nurses encouraged me and monitored me closely. Hours passed. The pain became unbearable. I was exhausted and I had no strength left. The doctors examined me several times, and eventually, one of them called my husband and me aside. His face looked serious. He explained that there was complications. The baby was in distress and labor was not progressing as expected. He said the safest option was an emergency cesarean section. I was scared, but I trusted the medical team. Before I could respond, my husband spoke, and to my surprise, he immediately disagreed. He said no woman in his family had ever delivered through a cesarean section. He said his mother gave birth naturally to all her 10 children, so he insisted that I should do same. The doctor patiently explained that every pregnancy is different and that this was a medical emergency. But my husband refused to listen. When the doctor left, my husband turned to me and said something I will never forget. He said, "If you agree to do this operation, don't expect me to remain your husband." At first, I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He repeated it. So for a moment, I felt trapped. If I refuse the operation, I will risk losing my baby and possibly my own life. And if I accept it, I risk losing my marriage. Tears rolled down my face. I prayed silently. Then I looked around the hospital room and realized something. A marriage can be rebuilt, but a life can't. So I signed a consent form. The doctors immediately prepared me for surgery. A short while later, my baby was delivered. When I heard my child's first cry, I cried too. Not because of the pain, but because I knew we had survived. I thought the worst was over, but I was wrong. When I returned to the ward, my husband was distant. He barely spoke to me. The next day, he didn't visit. I tried calling him, but he wouldn't answer. Eventually, I learned that he had gone home. He had left me and our newborn child alone in the hospital. When I was discharged, I had nowhere to go. Thankfully, my brother came to help me. He paid the remaining hospital bills and took me to his house. A few weeks later, my husband sent a message. It wasn't an apology, but instead, he told me our marriage was over. According to him, I had disobeyed him by agreeing to the operation. I sat there staring at the message. Part of me wanted to cry, and part of me wanted to beg. But another part of me felt something unexpectedly, and that was peace. Because deep down, I knew I had made a right decision. Today, I'm raising my child on my own. Life isn't easy. There are some days I struggle, and there are days I feel tired. But every time I look at my child, I remember that I chose life. And if I had to make that decision again, I would make the same decision.